Hello and welcome to another standard video. Today we're checking out this white, red and green or Naya colored mount and vehicle deck, playing 4 copies of Guardian Sunmare as one of the build-arounds. A 5/5 horse mount, has a ward 2, so a bit of built-in protection, never hurts. And whenever this creature attacks while saddled, the saddle cost is 4, we get to search our library for a non-land permanent card with mana value 3 or less and put it straight onto the battlefield, which means we kind of want a toolbox of cards we can potentially search up with a Guardian Sunmare, and some of those one-offs include a one-off Rest in Peace, giving us a chance against the many Omniscience combo decks in the format. I did try out the Ambush Wolf in this slot as well, since it does have a bit better synergy throughout the deck as a 4-powered creature that can still crew some of our vehicles and saddle the Sunmare, but it's not always quite powerful enough to beat all those graveyard combos, so Rest in Peace is kind of the sledgehammer for those matchups. Then we also have a Sheltered by Ghosts, which is quite good against any aggressive deck, being able to remove their best card while giving the Sunmare lifelink and immediately gain 6 is quite the swing. And then we have additional removal spells with a Perilous Snare, which is also quite flexible. And then the Hover Ship, another vehicle that has some good synergy throughout, can also exile opposing creatures with toughness 5 or less. And then if we don't need to search up any of those cards, we can always get something like a Lumbering World Wagon, which is a vehicle that when it enters will find a basic to put on the battlefield tapped, and then the power scales with the number of lands we control. Crew cost is also 4, which is perfect for cards like Wily Duke, which is great at crewing our vehicles and saddling our mounts as a 4/2 with Vigilance, and when it becomes tapped, we gain a life and draw a card. So we're not often going to be attacking with Wily, instead a great card draw engine that can also saddle and crew. And then we also have the full set of the Seraphic Steed to continue our horse theme, a 2-mana 2/2 with First Strike and Lifelink, and also a saddle cost of 4, and when it attacks while saddled we get to make a 3/3 Flying Angel token, so another pretty good card if we manage to saddle it. And to get the full benefit from our mounts and vehicles in this deck, we're also splashing red, mostly for Culloden, Triumph Caster, a 2-mana 2/3 saying mounts and vehicles we control have haste, and whenever a mount or vehicle enters, it immediately becomes saddled or crewed respectively, so that way we can potentially play our Guardian Sunmare and immediately attack with it while searching up a permanent with mana value 3 or less and put it onto the battlefield. So that can be incredibly powerful, also has great synergy with a Steed, and of course with the World Wagon as well. And then rounding out the deck, we've got some mana acceleration, since casting a 5-drop in Standard is not always easy without the necessary ramp, so the Stable Master is quite useful there. A 2/2 with Reach can tap for green, or 2 mana of any one color that we can spend on mount or vehicle spells. So a turn 2 Stable Master without any additional help can cast a turn 3 Sunmare. And then we also have a Llanowar Elves, since we are a green creature deck, so turn 1 Llanowar Elves into a turn 2 World Wagon can also get us off to a quick start. And then we have additional removal with 3 copies of Road Rage, which also scales with the number of mounts and vehicles we control. And then another great card draw engine in this archetype is the Rip Spawn Hunter with the survival mechanic, as we can easily tap it by saddling our mounts and crewing our vehicles. And then in our second main phase we'll get to find additional creatures with different powers, and that's also where the World Wagon is pretty nice to find, as we'll often be able to combine it with additional creatures and vehicles. And then our mana base needs to have a couple basics to find with the World Wagon, so we do want to have enough of those to keep searching up. We're also playing Fabled Passage, since we are a 3-color deck, so that's good mana fixing, even though it can be at odds with the World Wagon, since we might run out of basics at times. And then we've got additional mana fixing from the fast lands, Copperline Gorge, we've got the Thicket, as well as Inspiring Vantage, and then a couple Verge lands can also synergize quite well with all the basics we're finding, and a couple Carplusan Forests to make sure we can cast our Road Rage and Elves on turn 1 if needed. So yeah, that's our deck. Now let's jump into some games and see how the deck does. Okay, we're on the draw with a promising hand. We've got mana acceleration, plus a way to give Sunmare haste. Although they've got the cut down to slow us down. So probably leaning Stable Master over Culloden, even though Culloden into Steed is pretty nice. If Stable Master survives, we could still play Culloden and Steed on the following turn. But an Edict takes care of our Stable Master as well. And yeah, that's often gonna be the case playing Standard nowadays. Every deck has to be filled to the brim with spot removal to stand a chance against all the red aggro decks. So then other creature matchups will also face those same removal spells. Alright, I guess it's Table Master once again. So we can maybe cast a Sunmare next turn if it lives, but it doesn't seem to be the case. At least now if we do top deck an untapped land, I could still maybe go Collodin plus Steed with haste, making an Angel. So that's what we're hoping for. Any untapped white land will do it, or maybe a forest to enable the Verge. And it's gotta be a tap land. Alright, so now Collodin can maybe set up a hasty Sunmare. The good news is our opponent hasn't been applying a ton of pressure in the meantime. Has another Edict, takes care of Collodin. Double Sunmare is not a bad leftover. And we don't particularly care about Ghost Vacuum. Alright, time for Sunmare. Fetch a Plains. And then a second Sunmare can saddle the first one, assuming it survives. They can play around Ward with more Edict effects. And then we can maybe start dreaming about what to search up if we do get to saddle. Alright, I guess removal for Slasher is the answer. Could be the hover ship. Keep the more flexible snare in our deck. If we didn't have to worry about Slasher, I would consider Collodin, since then both World Wagon and Steed can benefit from it. So I could also just attack, take the trade for Slasher, and then get Collodin on the battlefield. But that seems a little risky. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? They eventually get the Slasher back, would be annoying. So I'll play it safe, hover ship. Exile your Slasher. They can jump if they'd like. And maybe next turn we can find Collodin. Even if I top deck a Lenor Elves, I could use it to crew the hover ship, and then hover ship in combination with a Steed can still saddle a Sunmare. So that's something we could set up. Just a land. Okay, in that case... do we still want to saddle? I think I do. Go to attackers. That works. Get Collodin. And then I don't have to play any of these out unless we're worried about a discard spell, since next turn they will enter with haste. On the off chance that they do have a sweeper, it's gonna be a cut down, of course. Alright, so I'll have to give up that dream and just play my cards out normally. I'm sure the opponent's Mono Red and Aura matchups are reasonable. Ghost Vacuum helps against Omniscience combo, so they are trying to answer the meta, but they probably weren't prepared for the Horse deck. And let me just play the Steed. And hope they don't have a board wipe next turn. Archfiend is beatable now. Still have our Snare to exile it, or we could get a Sheltered by Ghosts. So let's see here. Probably just saddling with a Sunmare. And attack. We'll immediately get our speed up. Otherwise, Wily Duke would be pretty good on this board, immediately drawing a card, being able to saddle the World Wagons. So our opponent might be interested in sacking the Vacuum if they draw 6 land, making a bunch of 1/1 creatures. Either way, we'll play the wagon. And a Bloodletter, so they are a demon deck. They were just missing the demon part, and Duke is a great draw. So do we have lethal? We should have it here. If we can crew double wagon, I guess then we cannot find removal for the Bloodletter, but they can just double chump. Alternatively, I can saddle here, and then 13, 14, 15, 16, yeah, with the Sheltered by Ghosts we get there. I guess I also could have played my land out. Plus, I guess World Wagon also grows naturally. So we had a little bit of damage to spare. But this is our last answer to a larger creature. Alright, sweet. So we managed to withstand all the opponent's spot removal, and Sunmare goes the distance. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw. Our hand seems functional. We're just missing kind of our more exciting curve toppers to ramp into with a Stable Master. But we can Road Rage and potentially Sheltered by Ghosts if needed. Opponent's on a life gain deck. World Wagon's not bad. So I'll wait and see if we need to Road Rage the Hawk or maybe some 2-drop like an Essence Channeler. Also good to exile with a Sheltered by Ghosts, but Stable Master blocks the Hawk thanks to Reach. So if they're not paying attention, we can just ambush it for free. It's not the most obvious Reach creature, to be honest. Alright, we got him, and there we have it. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw. We've got a potentially pretty strong hand. Elves into a World Wagon could be the start we want. Although Stable Master can also set up a turn 3 Sunmare. And looks like a life gain deck. Alright, so a World Wagon probably has the highest upside, since that'll allow me to attack with it again next turn as well. And can get another Plains if we'd like. So they are black-white. And a Gorehound is next, so this might actually be a Raise the Past the deck, so then getting Rest in Peace with the Sunmare is going to be of utmost importance. So I'll play the Verge, could also fetch. Doesn't really matter, I guess we'll thin out the deck since we don't necessarily want to draw a ton more basics. And then next turn I could maybe get my Rest in Peace. Our opponent did not chump, so they may not have a Raise the Past in hand yet. Amalia's gonna start growing. Got a few ways to remove it. So then the plan is probably second Sunmare to crew the World Wagon, as the Cleric is gonna start draining us. And the opponent is keeping Raise the Past on top. So that is tricky now, since on the one hand we want to remove Amalia, but on the other we want to deal with the graveyard. But since they attacked, I guess we're fine to just deal with Amalia, and currently Raise the Past is not super devastating. But yeah, still pretty decent here with a Gorehound and a Channeler. At least the Cleric itself cannot block. So might want to get our Sheltered by Ghosts so we can gain some life back as well. So yeah, that's going to be the play. Sunmare. Play another Stable Master. Also has reach for what it's worth. And then, yeah, I guess I have to decide between crewing the World Wagon or saddling the other Sunmare. I guess saddling Sunmare is a little bit better here. So we can actually remove Amalia. And get Sheltered by Ghosts for starters. Pay the ward. Lose 3 but gain 6. And then if they want to raise the past here, so be it. Can block a Life Creed duo with a Stable Master. And then next turn perhaps saddle both Sunmares. So they might have missed a reach on Stable Master. Or they're setting up a second to raise the past. Wily Duke was a good draw. So can play that. And Stable Master. So we can saddle, draw a card. And then saddle. And go to attackers. Could also get in with elves, since we're probably dealing with Channeler and then exiling the graveyard is my guess. And then I can get a hover ship, which I guess I could have crewed with a Lanor Elves on defense as well. Or we can get a Perilous Snare. What makes more sense? I guess a hover ship for now. And rest in peace. Okay. Opponent jumps. So we're going to be at 16, and now without Raise the Past, I'm not too worried about getting comboed. So yeah, we got to see the versatility of Guardian Sunmare. Finding removal, as well as Graveyard Hate. And now it should be pretty trivial to end the game. Find a hasty World Wagon now, thanks to Collodin. And yeah, our opponent has seen enough. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play. We have a promising hand. Keep up a Road Rage, Stable Master into World Wagon, and then Wily Duke can crew it. Facing turn 1 Plains. And now a Sunmare could be an option next turn. Especially for opponents on Omniscience combo, we just want to tutor up or Rest in Peace as soon as possible. Get Lost is going to slow us down. So then World Wagon makes sense. Don't think the color matters too much. And yeah, stock up. Could still be kind of a blue-white control deck, I suppose. Don't usually see Demolition Field and the Omniscience builds, but you never know. At least vehicles are good against control. Road Rage not so much. So we'll start with Duke. Can crew. Can also explore here, maybe onto the World Wagon itself, in the hopes of hitting another land, or I could just play the Elves. Either way, we can play Sunmare next turn, so I guess if we're up against control, I would rather put the extra counter on the vehicle and then get in for 6. So we've got a bit of protection against the board wipe. Alright, Beza makes lots of fish tokens. So can I play Culloden and Sunmare? I can. So that's kind of the dream. Although we might be overextending into a sweeper then. Unless I just get another World Wagon. But yeah, we won't be able to crew it as a problem. So maybe that's not the correct approach. Although it's not like I have many better plays available in a way. So I guess we will try this. I guess I'll start by crewing here. Maybe our draw changes our play. A Rip's not bad either. And I guess Rip gives us a way to crew future World Wagons if they do have the board wipe. And then get our land. Could also get removal for Beza, so they don't simply get to trade for Sunmare, which is also reasonable. So it is a close call here. Yeah, it could be the Peril Snare or Hover Ship. Can still get rid of Beza. Opponent maybe double chumps, cast a board wipe. And then Rip can get back on the board crewing the World Wagon. Yeah, I don't hate that. So maybe we'll go for Hover Ship. And keep the Snare for later, as it's maybe more flexible. Their opponent is jumping. And then the Elves can also crew Hover Ship to get in for 2. And there's Day of Judgment to be expected. Alright, so we don't have a ton of basic lands left. So Rip crews World Wagon. And I imagine it's worth it to get in with the Hover Ship as well. And then I could explore, or I could wait and see what Rip finds, in case it's a 3-drop we still want to cast. Alright, they do actually seem to have removal. And I guess I didn't see the treasure token, I thought it was a food token somehow. But yeah, Rides and exiles Hover Ship, so our opponent does get to manifest Dread here. But we can Road Rage the 2-2 before they get a chance to block. Which is probably worthwhile. So that kind of worked out. Bones at 8. And we find backup Sunmare and Stablemaster. Can play the Stablemaster. And then Sunmare is enough to crew the World Wagon, which would be lethal. It's going to be another Rides End on Rip. And a stock up. So they seem dead. Play Sunmare, could also explore with a map. And then that way crew the World Wagon if we hit a non-land card. But our opponent has seen enough. On to the next one. Alright, we've got a very horse-themed hand, and it's quite synergistic, so I'll keep Steed into Duke, and then hopefully Sunmare at some point, facing the mouse deck. So it may not be mono-red aggro, but more of a mouse synergy deck. Could also go for turn 2 Stablemaster, turn 3 Sunmare, and then I can saddle it with Wily Duke. For now, another hero. Getting a Sheltered by Ghosts in play is pretty important. I guess our opponent could be playing an Aura deck themselves. So then we have to be careful with our enchantment removal. So possible they have a burn spell up, so no matter which 2-drop I play, it's getting zapped. I think Stable Master has the highest upside. Steed is still somewhat impactful if we play it later, whereas Stable Master is at its most effective if we can play it early. So possible they have a Monstrous Rage in hand. It is a Shelter by Ghosts after all. So Aura deck confirmed. And now Steed versus Duke is another tough call. Might just be the Steed, and then I can get my tap land with Fabled Passage. Sure. But the curve is not looking quite as exciting anymore. And they've got the Manifold Mouse for double strike. So we're taking 8 damage. Can only gain 2 on the way back. Could still top deck Road Rage, which at the moment deals 3 damage. Another Sunmare instead. So Duke, keep up, I guess, the red mana from Vantage in case we draw Road Rage. Saddling the Steed. Although we leave ourselves pretty dead on the way back if we don't top deck. And then I would have to take out the Manifold Mouse. So, yeah, I mean, I guess that's still the play. Since they have, I guess, no trample yet. So possible I can chump the hero if I top deck a Llanowar Elves with a Duke. So then maybe I'll just keep the Karplusan Forest available. So we have both Elves and Road Rage as an out. And of course we'll also get an Angel here, so that can also get in the way. Alright, we drew the Elves. And we can play that without taking damage. So if they do still have a Monstrous Rage in hand, it probably doesn't matter, since they can just double strike and trample. Opponent triggers Manifold Mouse. Goes for a double strike. So if they Monstrous Rage, that would be 16 trample damage. So we won't survive it even if we double block. So then I'm just gonna try chumping with the Llanowar Elves. And yeah, there it is. And no rocket science here. Alright. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw. Our hand's got potential. We're just missing a vehicle or a mount to synergize with Culloden. And we've got some other mana elves to start out. And there's the Sunmare. but it does seem like they have a cut down for the elves. Turn 2 Stable Master can still set up a turn 3 Sunmare. Or we could play Culloden, but then, yeah, it's not like we're doing much on the following turn. So I may as well try the Stable Master. Opponent's got a Sentinel. Alright, so I could still play Culloden first, so we can immediately attack with the Sunmare. Or we could play it now just to have a larger blocker available as well. Plus, if our opponent does remove the Stable Master, I might lose the possibility to cast the Sunmare, since it's double white. So I still think we try it here. And then Ward 2 makes it a little bit more difficult for them to remove, but not impossible if they have a Go for the Throat, for instance. And then Wily Duke could help saddle it next turn. So our opponent goes exploring, finding another cut down. Opponent says no. And the Annex, okay. So Sunmare gets to attack next turn. And we drew Sheltered by Ghosts, which I might have wanted to search up otherwise. Okay, so Wily Duke means we cannot play Culloden here or the Sheltered by Ghosts, but that's fine. We'll still draw. Can cast a Road Rage, which could be a reason to attack with a Stable Master. And then Hover Ship could be an answer to the Sentinel. We could get a World Wagon. Perilous Snare, also versatile answer here to the Annex/Chamber. Yeah, Hover Ship might be the pick just because we won't be able to get rid of a 6/6 demon with it. And that would have been a reason to maybe attack with the Stable Master, since we would have gotten past the Sentinel. Alright, opponent just unlocks the Ritual Chamber. So 4 damage is not enough, but Sheltered by Ghosts is the perfect solution here. And we drew another Road Rage, so double Road Rage would also do it. Still like the Sheltered by Ghosts. And then Wily Duke is gonna saddle. Drawing a land. So then I can still play Culloden. Sheltered by Ghosts on the Sunmare itself, I think. Get rid of the demon. Can crew the Hover Ship. Attack. And get probably the World Wagon now, keep Perilous Snare available. Although the World Wagon is not going to get a chance to attack here, despite the haste. Okay, and then maybe get another mountain. So we now have 5 damage with the Road Rage, sadly cannot go face, but our opponent scoops it up. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play. We have a pretty clunky hand with a double Fabled Passage, although both Stable Master and Culloden are excellent with the Sunmare. But yeah, these tap lands are quite the nuisance, so I don't think I can really keep. We'll maybe get to cast turn 3 Stable Master, turn 4 Sunmare, and then I'm not even going to have it with haste. If we're up against Omniscience combo, then of course Rest in Peace makes this functional, but I'll take a mulligan, and this seems better. So we can ditch 1 Elves. If they remove it, we still have a turn 2 Steed at least. And we're up against Mono Red. Still kind of like the Steed, since we don't have red for Culloden to give it haste. We can instead crew it with either Duke or Rip. assuming we draw the lands. If not, Wily Jew could still work. If they have a burn spell, they're likely to just take out the steed right now. But maybe a Rip can stabilize us. Can't really block the Swiss Spear when they have a bunch of mana untapped, since they can trigger Prowess to grow it. And a 2-power lifelink, while nice against red, is not always enough to outrace them, since they have so many effects that can deal a ton of damage out of nowhere. Heartfire on defense means they can still maybe grow it to ambush the steed, although they would need to get it up to 3 toughness, which is possible if they just cast a Monstrous Rage defensively. I'll start here and saddle the steed either way, since we want to draw a card. And untapped red mana would have been ideal. I think we still send it. If they have to waste a Monstrous Rage on defense, at least they didn't get to deal a ton of extra damage with it. So our opponent takes it. Do we maybe see a Screaming Nemesis? Nope, just another Heartfire hero. So they're being patient. Now I don't mind blocking the hero, since I would need something pretty special to beat the angel. And if it's a trade, that's fine by me. Alright, Monstrous Rage is still a trade. So that's fine. Take 5. And a Scamp. Okay. Alright, so would love to draw a land here. Another Rip. At least Rest in Peace is still serviceable, as it can help us not take damage from Scamp or Hero. In fact, I probably should have played it before attacking, in case they decided to chump. So now if Scamp dies, it just gets exiled instead, so it doesn't deal damage. Same with the hero. So you could do worse against this build of mono red. Given that they're playing Scamp, and they don't seem to have many burn spells, they likely have the Sellsword plus more pump spells in hand. So they're trying to set up that one-hit KO. With Rest in Peace, again, that's going to be more difficult. So despite our mana woes, we're still putting up a fight. So then, which creature are we more interested in blocking with the Angel? Probably the Heartfire hero. Although I guess Scamp they can just kind of sacrifice by themselves, but I suspect they have a Sellsword in hand. So then I think hero is still more dangerous. Could also block the Scamp with Elves. So let's say they go Pump Spell, and then Sellsword, that's potentially like 14 damage, so then I guess Swiss Spear makes it 15. Alright, fine, I guess I'll take the trade. But yeah, I guess 2 pump spells on Swift Spear, followed by Sellsword, could still be lethal as well. So it's possible that with Rest in Peace, I should have ignored Scamp and just blocked the Swift Spear instead. Because if they have the Manifest Dread pump spell plus another Rage into a Sellsword, that would be enough. Felonious Rage we can live with. Creature gets exiled, so they don't get to Manifest Dread. Alright, so still fine to gain a life and draw. And another Steed is pretty good. Okay. Sometimes you do have an opening hand full of basic lands, and then it's going to be harder to cast your red spells. But we also need enough basics for World Wagon to be effective and for Fabled Passage. So I'll block. Fine if they take out Angel Token. Still gets exiled. And then now Rip can saddle both steeds if we'd like, and that should be game. Alright, so we got to see our Naya Horses deck in action. And yeah, it's definitely playing standard in hard mode at the moment, since I don't think it's got a favorable matchup against any of the real meta decks, at least not in the best of one meta. Against mono reds, we're often going to be a little too slow. The aura matchup is pretty terrible, unless we can just remove their early creatures with some of our spot removal spells. And then control matchups, Omniscience combo are all pretty hard as well, since we are a creature deck. So unless we can maybe sneak in lethal with our vehicles, those are going to be quite difficult to win as well. So I wouldn't recommend this for the current standard meta, but if you want to have some fun and maybe horse around in standard, this might be up your alley. So that'll do it for today's gameplay. Want to thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed, and as always, have a nice day.